And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Melody, and this is my dad. And today we're reviewing Emperors of Zidal.
Or Zidal, or who knows. This is a game which has a fantasy theme to it and is a deck building style game, but it's very different than most other deck building games, I thought. We'll take a look at how it plays and be back. Here's the board of the game. Now, one of the things that's interesting is and I should show you how the box layout is. You have a box here which has spots for the different cards and for a little scoring pad. And then these trays actually fit into the box. Unfortunately, they don't fit in as well as I'd like them to, in the sense that when the board is on top of them, if this box gets turned anyway, everything falls out of these trays. It doesn't fit in as snugly as I wanted to. Probably it would have been a good idea, if you do get this game, to have kept the things that all the counters were punched out of and put those underneath the tray, pushing the tray up to the top, which would then make everything fit snugly. So keep that in mind. But these trays are pulled out here, and in the front tray, we have different resources of the earth. We have different rubies and sapphires and emeralds and so on. And over here we have money, which is in denomination, silver coins in denominations of 1 through 5. In the second tray, which isn't completely used, we have signets, which are 1s and 3s. These are 5 different types of signets, and each one, these are essentially victory points as the game progresses. When one of these runs out, the game will be over. You're going to be putting out buildings and cards, and depending on the number of players, many of the buildings have little 2+ or 3+ or 4+ to show you which games they're used. This market is filled up here at the beginning of the game. Then each player is going to get a starting deck. They're going to get a sapphire digger, a topaz excavator, 2 children, 2 silver workers, an amethyst miner, and a ruby prospector, and an emerald dredger. You're going to have, these is 9 cards. Then you're going to take 4 more workers that are randomly chosen. The rest of the workers are placed in piles over there. You get to pick one of these workers, and then you can either add this worker to your starting deck, in which case you just put it in your deck and shuffle, or you can take the resources and then discard the worker and take an extra child. So a player is going to shuffle their deck. On their turn, they're going to draw 5 cards. Actually, they'll draw them at the end of their turn, so you have them in your hand. You will use these cards, most of these starting cards, you just use them, and you'll get resources from them. And then you can, if you have a child in your hand, you can discard that child to this child deck up here, and to transform it into a more advanced worker. Like, for example, if I wanted to change this child into a sergeant, I would need to pay 1 ruby, 1 green, 1 purple, and 2 silver coins. And then this person will be in my deck. He gives me 2 signets when I play him. Although, you'll notice that many of these cards in this box have a cost associated. So every time I play him, I also have to spend a ruby. If you do not have the resources that you need to upgrade a child, you can always buy from the market. You're also allowed to sell to the market here. You can see as rubies and the different things are bought and sold, the prices will increase or decrease, and you're always able to buy them for 13, and you're always able to, well, you can't sell them if the market's full, although that's not going to happen very often. Players can also build buildings which do not go in your deck but are permanently placed in front of you. You can have up to 3 buildings. You'll notice that these buildings have a point value at the end of the game and also give different bonus points. At the end of your turn, you will take 1 more child and add it to your discard pile. You'll discard all the cards from your hand, whether you use them or not, and then you will draw 5 more cards. And then it's the next person's turn. Alright, let's take a look at some of the cards that come with the game. There's a lot of different characters. I believe that there's 30 different characters in the game, and each character has different costs. Like you can see here, the Battle Mage, yeah, he's pretty inexpensive to buy, but he costs 6 coins every time you play him. But he gives you 2 gems of any type that you want. There are lots of cards. This one gives you 2 signets, which is 2 victory points of any type that you want. You notice that each of these is also worth victory points. These guys happen to be worth 0, and they're from a different class. The green ones are magic, red are military, blue is market, yellow is labor, and purple is entertainment. Like, for example, here's an entertainment. Many of these cards simply give you signets of that type. So he gives you 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, 3 points. Some of them give you points based on what you do. This one, you get 1, and you can discard up to 7 cards from your hand, and he gives you 1 point for each card you discard. This guy gives you 1 point for every 7 silver coins that you spend when you play this card. This gentleman, then there's cards here that you have options. You can do the top or the bottom. These are attack cards. There's one guy who can defend against attack cards, but this one lets you take a signet of your choice from an opponent. This one lets you take 2 signets of your choice from an opponent. This one lets you take 8 coins from an opponent. This one lets you take 5 from all the opponents. Then there's some guys that give no special ability, but you can see they're worth points at the end of the game. And so those are useful to have, but as the game is playing, they're not very useful when you draw them on their hand. They're worthless. Then there's cards that give you different actions, like, and here's a choice. You can draw 1 card from your deck and gain a gem of the lowest market value, or you can draw a card from your deck and gain 1 gem of your choice, but that one costs 5 coins. And so there's different sorts of different people. This guy can change 4 of your signets into other types of signets. This guy can change 3 of opponent's signets into other types of signets, because sometimes you get bonus points for having a lot of the same kind. Here's another card with an attack. Then there are many people that say while active on them. She says while active from 3, once per turn, you may move the top card of 1 pile in the worker or building market to the bottom of the pile. Reduce active duty by 1 if you buy the new worker or building that's revealed. Now what this means is, next to the board we have active duty here. And her tells you while active from 3. So that means when you play this card, you'll stick her here. And there's active duties all around the board, so no matter where you're sitting, you'll have a spot where you can place them. And each turn, at the beginning of your turn, you reduce all your active people down, so when they get to the end, they come off into your discard pile. So that means every turn, while she's active, once per turn, I can take a card from the top of the deck and put it in the bottom. But if I buy that, then she goes down another duty. So there's different people that when they're active, they will get you different things. For example, when I play this knight here, while active from 1, so he starts here at number 1, I draw 1 less card during my draw phase, which is a negative thing. He gives me 4 points, but I draw 1 less card. The negotiator, when you put her down, she's for 2 turns, you're going to get money at the beginning of your turn that's equal to the highest and lowest market cost of gems. Well, this person starts at 3, and they draw 1 extra card from your deck during each draw phase while they're active. This person, when they're active from 2, you get 1 point, and at the beginning of each turn, you get another point. So there are many different cards in the game. There are also buildings, again, up to 5 different types, and these buildings often refer to those types. For example, this business guild gives you 1 bonus point for every 2 market signets that you have at the end of the game. So this encourages you to get the blue signets as much as possible. Now, buildings are very expensive, and they don't go into your deck, and you're only allowed to have 3 of them, so you have to choose wisely. Many of them have to do with bonus points, but sometimes they give you a special ability where you can, this one lets you sell things better. Each one has kind of a cost. This one here, the barracks, when you use those red attack cards to attack other people, your vanguards will take an extra signet from people. Foot soldiers take an extra gem. Grunts take an extra 2 coins per opponent per attack. So this lets you attack better. And so there's all different things. Here you get 3 bonus points for every set of all 5 of the different signets. So this is one of the reasons that you would want to diversify and have a whole pile of them at the end of the game. And also don't forget, buildings are also worth points themselves. So lots of special abilities. This one's a very powerful one, the tower, worth no points, but you can play all your magic workers for free. The game ends when one of the signet piles runs out, as I said. At that point, players will count up all their signets. Each signet's worth 1 point. They'll count up all the point values of all the workers that they have in their deck and all the buildings in front of them, also taking into account any special abilities, and the person with the most points is the winner. All right, the first thing that we have to mention about this game, I think, is the fact that there's a lot going on in it with currencies. Most board deck builders have 1 currency, some have 2, and I believe I played one that has 3. For example, Dominion. You just have coins. That's all there is. In Ascension, there's coins and attack. But this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different currencies, rubies and sapphires and emeralds. And so because of that, there's a lot of things to keep track of, and it definitely slows the game down. Because when you look at the sideboard and you look at all the different people at the cost, you have to sit there and say, okay, how can I get this and that and this? Don't you think that's
and
true?
things keep changing in the game too.
Right, and I think, even though this game does go to 4 players, I think it's actually better with fewer players because the board doesn't change as much, which actually allows it to go faster. What did you think about the artwork and the components?
I thought the artwork was really nice, and having all the different type of money did make it confusing, but a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I think the artwork is good. It has a very strong anime flavor to it. And the components work. My only problem with the components is it got a little tiring after a while, constantly moving them and handing them around. It just felt very fiddly, just move, 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 move. Every turn it was like, okay, I get this. And then you immediately were paying the money to get more gems. There was just a lot of, the money was, it almost felt like this would work really well on the iPad. Because you'd press a button, boop, and you get all those resources. What do you think about the market in the middle?
I really like the market. Wait, which market? The resource market? Or
Yeah, the resource market.
I like the market how you can buy gems that you didn't have, sell gems that if you really needed money, which I really never really needed to because I just kept getting money and money and money.
Right. I mean, the game, you don't have to worry. It's not like you don't struggle at the beginning like, oh, am I going to get resources? You're definitely going to get resources, tons of them. And in fact, I would be very surprised if any game the market filled up. Usually people have enough money that they're going to be buying the gems, and usually the market will run out almost, or at least run towards expensive gems.
Yep.
What do you think about the different types? Did you think the magic people felt different than the military people, which felt different than the entertainment?
Yeah, they kind of did. The buildings definitely made the certain types of people stand out and help you easier. And the buildings were nice too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this game is balanced perfectly. It feels like some of the people are way better than other ones. Don't you think?
You have to pay more for them.
You do, and it probably works out in the long run, but just doesn't always feel that way. And you're kind of stuck with buying the top 6 that are there. So sometimes someone gets a really good one, or they're trying to get a whole bunch of magic users, and it just works out well for them. But I feel like there's a lot more thought went into this game. You don't sit there and just go, oh, on your turn you have to sit and think, what am I going to buy? What am I going to use? Am I going to use special abilities? If there's one thing I was annoyed by in the game, it was that constant adding a child to your discard pile. Now that makes sense. I understand why they do it, because you're constantly having kids and you're going to train these kids to be, and it's great thematically. But always adding that person, you always forget about it. Or you would train a worker, and then you put the person in the discard pile, and then you take them right back out of the discard pile and add them to your discard pile. That kind of got a little, again, fiddly. That's the word I keep using because there's just a lot of moving pieces in it. What about the buildings?
The buildings were really good. They did help. I think I used one building for entertainers that I got to draw.
Oh yeah, it gave you a special ability where you could, whenever you used a purple, let you draw cards. It let you draw an extra one. Was that useful, you thought?
Yes, it helped me get more resources and stuff that I can buy more people. And then I had one where if you have a set of all the different types of points, then you got 3 points for every set.
And that's harder to do than you thought, right?
Yes.
It really is hard to get all those points because you have to buy a variety of the people. Mm-hmm. So overall, it's a very good-looking package. Although I have to say, this drives me nuts when the box lid doesn't fit all the way down in the box. That just okay. Anyway. Overall, it's a very nice package. The game is certainly different than you played before. My only 2 complaints would be that it's a little fiddly moving around all these pieces, and it runs a little slower because there's so much to do between turns. Most people are used to playing deck builders where they're fast. This one isn't. I don't think this one will ever play fast, even if you know everybody, because if you look, a lot of these characters have, a kind of a wall of text to read, and so there's just a lot going on. But overall, my impressions are fairly positive. What did you think?
I really like this game.
Well, you did? Would you rank it highly?
Yes.
Okay, I like it. Probably not as much as Melody did, but I think it's an aspiring game. I think maybe it could have been streamlined a bit, but it's certainly one that's worth checking into if you like the deck building thing at all, but thought that it's kind of simplistic. This one adds a lot of theme and adds a lot of choices. at the expense of ease of play and time. But it says 1 to 2 hours on here. I think 2 hours is a pretty good indication of how long it's going to last. That's Empires of Zidal.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
There.